Today we have a wonderful opportunity to hear how ASML in Netherlands worked together with the International School of Eindhoven and Kuno Huisman, who is at ASML, and Suzanne Eisbots, who is at the International School of Eindhoven, are here to tell us a little bit about how they collaborated to make decision education happen in their context. So we're going to have a little bit of a free-flowing interview conversation. And maybe, Kuno, you could start us out and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started, and then hand it off to Susanna, and we can learn a little bit about the creative stuff that you made happen between ASML and the International School of Eindhoven.
Happy to, Chris. Thank you. So my name is Kuno Huisman. I work at ASML, and next to that, I'm appointed at an endowed chair funded by ASML at Tilburg University, and the topic of this chair is decision-making on uncertainty. So when this chair was initiated 5 years ago, I said to myself, I want to do something with the methods and the things that I saw Chris doing at some conferences. And back then I started just sending around some emails to schools to say, okay, can we collaborate? Because I think this is a very powerful tool to also learn to scholars. So next to that role at Tilburg University at ASML, I'm currently Director of Business Control for one of the factories of ASML in the Netherlands. So I came in contact with Suzanne. Maybe Suzanne, you can introduce yourself.
Yes, of course. Thank you. I am Suzanne Eisbout. I am currently the Education and Careers Counselor for the International School Eindhoven. After many years abroad, I came back to the Netherlands, and after career in corporate, I decided it was time to do something else, and integrated ISE, where I try to make a clear link for the students towards the corporate world. And in this context, I received Kuno's email and thought, this is typically something that I want to pick up to show the students in the school what is possible at this level, and also to get this skill, because I think it's a skill that they need for the rest of their lives. And also because it connects really closely to the International Baccalaureate program, where we have a subject called Theory of Knowledge, critical thinking, how do we know what we know? And in this context, I thought that decision quality really fit in well. And that's how we started kicking off the project.
So can you tell us a little bit about what age students you were working with, and when you got started, what did you do the first year?
Okay, so the students we decided to do this with are in 11th grade, so the before last high school year. The reason why we chose this level is because these students are in the middle of the process of having to choose their further studies. So with one of my colleagues from education, we decided that we had to take this process back to education and not only to corporate. So we started then working together with Kuno and some people of his team to make the booklet and to outline how we wanted to do this, which subject we wanted to do with this process. That took a couple of weeks or months of meetings, of emailing, and until we finally got the booklet and fixed the date to do this in ASML.
So, and we have some pictures of the booklet that we're going to get to a little bit later. But right now I'm showing a picture of Kuno, two of your employees who were presenting to the students. And one of the things that I noticed is that there is a slide about useful information, and they are talking about buying a car. And so I'm hoping that you can talk a little bit about the value that you saw for both the employees at ASML, and then what you did to make this also valuable to the students in terms of making it relevant to them.
Yeah, so what I think was a nice, second catch, so to say, in this process was, of course, that I could give my team the opportunity to present this time for students from the international school, but also to explain the theory they're using in their daily practice. So they're all part of the decision support team that helps the board of management of ASML to make high-value decisions. And now they could explain also the theory in words and in examples that also would stick to the students, so that they could also kind of incorporate it themselves and also to work on it later on in the case study. So they enjoyed it very much, I think, not only presenting there on that day, but also the organizing factor behind it, because it's something. You have to arrange a room, a place. You have to make sure that they can get access to the campus of ASML. It's not a public place. It's a private company. So you have all the things you have to arrange to make sure that everything is there. And I think they had a great opportunity to learn. And I think also from the school's point of view, the students they had a very nice opportunity to learn something about ASML, but also, of course, learning on how you make a high-value, high-quality decision. Related to a subject, indeed, what Suzanne says, which is really relevant to them, because they have to make this choice what I'm going to do after they finished the school.
So that's a great place to, here's a picture of some of the kids. And as I understand it, you did this 2 years in a row or 3 years in a row, and then, of course, COVID happened. So we're on the break and hope to get back to normal there. But in that first year, you did focus very much on that decision of what are they going to do later in their educational studies. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
And then I know that you had a great experience. And I'm showing now the slide that you provided because you did an evaluation. And I see two parts of this. One, that it was really successful. And two, you had some ideas for how to improve it. So maybe, Suzanne, can you talk about what it is that you saw happen, and what were some of the key takeaways?
Well, in the first place, the students were very excited to go to ASML because, everyone in Eindhoven has heard of ASML. And of course, we have quite some expat parents who have their kids, in our school. So they all wanted to learn more about ASML's activities. And so they didn't know exactly what to expect. And then they had this whole workshop where they sat in ASML, visited the experience center, went out in breakout rooms with the people from ASML who guided them through this whole process. So I think it was a whole new world opening up for them, where they came to the conclusion. I remember one girl, she had 3 study choices, and her first choice was really, she was pretty sure about that. And at the end of the process, she said, my first choice became my third choice, because she had added all the different values and all the different criteria. And so she was very surprised herself. So no, I only got very enthusiastic reactions. Yes, there are always a few students who find it boring, who find it too long, but that was definitely not the overall reaction. It was more excitement and gratitude that we were able to offer them this. And that's also how we decided that we wanted to continue doing this, also because the booklet was ready. We had put in all that time to create the booklet and to set this up. So for the next year, it would be way more easy.
Excellent. And that's something very intriguing that I think educators very much know, but maybe it's less apparent for the corporate world. kids will tell you exactly how they feel. And sometimes educators will see that, well, you said it was boring, but then I heard you say afterwards that it made a difference in your life. So that's the thing that's more important. So you actually had a student where this workshop impacted her pathway for thinking about what her educational direction would be.
Yes, definitely. And I think she went home a bit puzzled, rediscussed it with the parents, and finally she ended up, her third choice became her first choice, and that's where she finally went.
That is something that I know Decision Education Foundation has seen in our own work, and also that it's very difficult to have those anecdotes and that evidence. And I hadn't heard that until just now. So that's a very powerful moment, and kind of goes to the point of, hey, there's a real opportunity for practitioners to bring this kind of value to students. Kuno, could you talk a little bit about the value that you saw?
Yeah, so I recognize what Suzanne said, because of course we evaluated later on. So one, of course, it was it went up to my expectations, saying that okay, I want to deliver this, and I really got nice responses, and it's really nice to work with these students. They're all enthusiastic about thinking about this, and also sharing with them in the group, and also made me also say, okay, I want to do more on this. So actually, at the moment, working with other schools in the region to see, okay, how can we also do this? So one of the reasons also to have, I didn't tell that, but to go to the international school is because the teaching there is in English. And all the materials from this Decision Education Foundation are, of course, in English. So that also makes it easier for me to make a step. What we're actually doing right now is also to translate this to Dutch, so that we can also go in the natural language of the students to other schools that want to like to do this, but then they prefer to do it in Dutch, which I can understand. So it's definitely something that we will keep on doing, and it gives a lot of enjoyment on both sides, from me and from the students.
Yes, and for me as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. So then the first year that you did it, you were using this case of their education, and you got the feedback they wanted to know more about ASML, and they would have liked to have had more examples. And so that's going to show up in the workbook that I'm going to show. And here are the students enjoying themselves in a different context. Now, one of the sources of value here was just coming and seeing what ASML is all about. Is that right?
That was definitely part of it. And of course, it's different to do something in a company rather than in school. So it was the trip to ASML. It was learning about ASML. Again, it's a name that everyone knows, but not everyone knew what they were doing. So it was to get a better understanding of what they did, and then have an example of decision quality within their specific context. A lot of students really appreciated that, because that's where it came with a completely different dimension, and where they realized, and that's also how I sold it, it's a 21st century skill, and they will benefit from this for the rest of their lives, even when they buy a car, an apartment, but also in other situations. So it was the whole experience. I think it was a day out of school, yet still learning. So that combination was really successful.
And Kuno, I understand also from the position that you've taken and some of the efforts that ASML has been making, this is part of one of the outreach things that ASML is interested in doing and having an impact on society. Is that right?
Yeah, that's completely right. So ASML is a highly technical company. So what we do, of course, is we how do you say it? We want to try to motivate these students to also start studying the STEM. How do you say it? Courses, let's say. But that's all more technical side. But then we also added this workshop to our palette, to say that we offer to schools. And you see that also on decision making, there is a lot of demand, and people don't. That's different than telling them about physics or science or math or something. But you see that also this is a very important thing to also add to society, and it's also appreciated by my colleagues in ASML that do this outreach towards the region and to schools to motivate students.
Interesting. So there is definitely a STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math component to what decision analysis and decision quality bring. And it has a qualitative aspect that makes it relevant to kids in a different way. I can see the power of that. So here's the front page of the workbook that you provided for all of the students. And I guess I will start out by saying DEF is happy for all organizations, especially youth-focused organizations, to use our material for nonprofit use with attribution. This is our old decision quality chain, so we'd love to use new images where possible, and we can give everybody those things. But I thought what's also nice here to show is you've got marking from all of the companies, and it's this is I see the year after DP2, what will I be doing? What's DP2?
DP2 is 12th grade. It's a senior high school year.
Okay. And one of the things that I did in putting this together is I wanted to highlight how you built on what was already available. So we've got a Fundamentals of Making Good Decisions booklet. And on the left side, that's coming straight out of that booklet. And then on the right side, or depending on how people are looking at this, we see something that is more workbook-like and also has an ASML example that's built into it. So this is the second year's workbook, correct?
It was the first year's and the second year's. The second year's workbook, we added the ASML framing on the pages because we thought that was even more useful, relevant. And then in the breakout rooms, the students would fill in, answer the questions little by little with the help of the ASML people. And they would discuss it every so many minutes, like what did students answer? Why did they answer that? And did they look at all different angles? So a really interesting discussion started between all the ASML people and our students in those different breakout rooms. And that was, really great to see.
And one of the things that I wanted to pull out is that, in fact, Kuna, you and your team went for the full critical thinking, quantitative aspects. So both decision trees and multi-criteria weight and rate tables.
Yes, correct.
And so how do you feel that went, and what was the response with the kids?
Yeah, good question. I think the setup was such that we did a kind of a plenary session of 45 minutes where we explained the theory step by step, with also these ASML examples and also more examples of private life, so to say, like buying a car and these kind of things. And then we took back on that, so to say, when we did the breakout groups. So in the breakout groups, we went back to indeed that we just saw on the previous page, we saw that, okay, that there the ASML example is again. And I think what the power of that is that they also recognize and they remember, okay, this is something that we just heard also in the plenary session. Now I'm going to apply it myself. And I think then the circle becomes really round, so to say, that they really understand what's going on and what are the parts of this whole exercise. I think, to be honest, by explaining them in the beginning, the multi-criteria, decision tree, all the kind of things, I'm not sure whether they really grasp it. But when they see it on their own example about indeed making a choice on what I'm going to do after DP2, I think it becomes, they can touch it, they can feel it.
Yeah.
Great. So this wasn't necessarily clear to me. You kept the focus on the what am I going to do after high school? but you incorporated more of the ASML examples, and then you kind of workshopped it. And I've moved forward to the example of the multi-criteria table as well. And next to it, we've got the ASML example.
Yeah, correct, Chris. So we explained the ASML example. We also explained some personal examples, but then we went back in the workshop to go indeed to the education assignment, to say, or the choice of what to do after they finish the secondary school.
Perfect. Well, I'm looking at the time, and we're just about there. Let me ask one last question, and that is, if you could build on this and do anything more with it, what would you like to see happen?
Susanna?
For me, I would like to do this on a more regular basis, because as much as that day in ASML, or whether we do it in school, I think is wonderful. I would like to repeat it, maybe with different cases, with different contexts, where the students would really get the hang of it in the end, and where it would become like a natural process that they would just pull out anytime. Because again, I am very much convinced that this is a skill for the rest of their lives, whether they go into corporate education or wherever they go. So I would have liked to have smaller workshops during the year to come back to this, and again with different cases. So far that hasn't been the case, because then I also need to get on board all my teaching colleagues. They were very enthusiastic about this, but that yet again asks for reframing it all again around another subject.
And Kuno, I know that you're doing some of this with an entrepreneur direction in class.
Yeah, so there is an initiative also from secondary schools in the region of Eindhoven, as it's called the Class of Entrepreneurship, where they really focus on teaching students. It's not they can choose to go there, and they get 7 or 8 sessions on 21st century skills, and then decision quality is one of these 7 or 8 skills. They also get powerful presentations and learn more about themselves. So that's one place where I do it. So I see next to that, so to say, 2 things. One is, I think, on the short notice, I'm really thinking about how can I do a train-the-trainer, so to say, session, so that I make my time more effective, because also the time of myself and my team is limited, so to say. We cannot do many of these workshops, and I understand I understand what Susanne is saying, that repetition will help people to really understand it, but we have to kind of find the balance there to what's possible, and then I think we have to teach the teachers that they can use it in their classes. That's on the short notes. In the longer run, then I also know, of course, of colleagues that also work with your materials, Chris, that they kind of have a longer term relationship, and they go into the school many more times and teach kind of a subject, so to say, on a weekly basis or something on this. And that would, of course, be very nice. But then, I need still to have some more gray hairs that I'm retired, but to free up the time for that.
Well, what I can offer is that DEF has not only worked very hard on train the trainer, but also creating curriculum that once the teacher is trained and motivated, that they can turn around and do something immediately with that material. And it's not incumbent upon them to actually create material, which is a real barrier, because teachers are not only always busy, but particularly coming through this COVID time, they've been under tremendous pressures. And really, it's remarkable what all has been accomplished, because they're great folks, and we should all have highest respect for them.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Kuno and Suzanne, for sharing what it is that you've been doing. It's very inspirational, and you're breaking new ground. You're pioneers. So thank you very much.